Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of the HACA Conference 2025. You are here in the Improving Flow stream, and we've got a very interesting series of talks for you today. My name is James DeLacy, and I work at the Strategy Unit, and I'll be your chair up until lunchtime. Before we get started, I've got a few housekeeping points for those who might not have joined us yesterday. Please use the Q&A box to submit any questions at any time. We should have some time at each of the sessions for some questions and answers. So if you're interested to see a question being answered, please upvote that and we'll prioritize those first. The chat's also open for any reflection and discussion. If you're interested to find out more about any of our speakers, then there's the speaker bios on the website, and you can connect to them via the People tab. We'll begin now with our session, our first lightning session, so 15 minutes in total. And this will be a very fascinating piece of work that's being done on implementing the Woodyard Model and how that's being used to improve efficiency and decision making. This will be presented by Siobhan Ligorish, Head of Data Visualization at NHS Kent and Medway ICB. I'll now hand you over to Siobhan to talk you through it. Over to you.
Coming through okay?
Yeah,
right.
There you go.
Okay, cool. So, not to state the obvious, this is a saw. It's the simplest tool in a woodyard. A few years ago, Dr. Mark Farr brought this image into our world, not just as a joke, but as a way to think about how BI should work. And today I want to talk to you about what happens when you actually run your BI function like a woodyard, and what that started to change for us in Kent and Medway ICB. Hello everyone, I'm Siobhan, Head of Data Visualization at Kent and Medway ICB. I'll use the Woodyard idea to share how we've tried to reduce waste inside BI, not just in the services we analyze, and what that's meant for flow, for people, and for products we ship. And you're probably wondering, why the hell is Siobhan in the brightest flipping shirt I've ever seen in my life? Well, when you're working in a woodyard, you need a bit of high vis. It's health and safety. And if you do decide to adopt this, I'm not saying it's mandatory, but it's fun, right? So why does the woodyard matter now? If I'm honest, the woodyard only really clicked when we saw how much waste we'd normalize. Ain't that something? But I want to put a charge to everybody listening today to go back to your team and reflect on that and ask yourself, how much waste have you been normalizing, right? For us, we had data development, engineering, visualization, planning, PHM, all doing good work, really awesome teams, but often responding separately to very similar asks. In practice, that meant we'd take the same log of data and cut it in 5 different ways, in 5 different places, for 5 different pieces of work, none of which really knew about each other. You'll recognize the pattern, as I think we all can. Multiple extracts, slight variations in logic, parallel dashboards, side of desk bills that never quite become reusable. It's exactly the world the Goldacre Review and others have pointed to. Lots of data, but not enough disciplined, repeatable ways of turning it into trusted insight. There's that word, trust. For us, the Woodyard has become our way of improving flow and reducing waste inside BI itself, not just in the pathways we analyze, right? So, what do we mean by the Woodyard? This image. Question, what is the Woodyard practically? If you imagine logs arriving at a yard, you don't let everyone grab a saw and start hacking away at things, do you? There's an order. logs become planks, planks become components, components become furniture. Makes sense. For us, the Woodyard is our BI operating model, involving data development, data engineering, modeling and definition, which I'm obsessed with, data visualization, love it to bits, analytics and planning. Data development, bringing the logs in and understanding what's actually in them. Engineering, milling them into planks, clean, repeatable structures. Modeling and definitions, agreeing what we even flipping mean by chair or table, or in our world, list size, resilience, flow. Visualization, designing the furniture people actually sit on and use. Analytics and planning, deciding where that furniture goes in the house, which room, which service, which decision. The key shift was to treat that not as a loose metaphor, but as the way we say yes, no, or not yet to work. A shared bench, right? Not 5 isolated sheds. The then. Before we leaned into the Woodyard, we were seeing the same pattern again and again. And I'm sure most of you would probably be able to recognize it as well, nodding away. Over a short period, we had 4 or 5 separate pieces of work being discussed. CYP, demand and capacity, primary care, resilience. Each of them touching similar data, and in some cases, almost identical questions trying to be answered. Different teams were having similar conversations with different stakeholders. Everybody's probably going, yes, Siobhan, yes, yes. I know. Everyone was trying to be helpful, like we always are. Nobody had the full picture though. And because we didn't have a visible shared pathway, it was very hard to say, oh, that already exists, let's build on it. Or, if we do this once, we can reuse it across 3 asks. So we ended up with more logs being cut into more places, well-intentioned, I know, but still fragmented. That's the backdrop against which we treated the Woodyard as something we actually run, not just as something we talk about again and again and again. So, our test of this idea. So what did we do differently when we said, let's actually run this as a Woodyard? First, we pulled a cross-functional core group together, including PHM, DV, and colleagues linked into primary care. We met weekly, kept a live chat going, and treated the work as an actual project, not as background noise, like sometimes we tend to do. Second, we made roles explicit. We had a clear product owner on the business side and a clear process owner within BI. We also knew who our technical owners and subject matter experts were. Third, we did a big bit of data mapping and modeling upfront. Again, I'm going to go data mapping and modeling upfront because we need to know the direction of travel if we're going to make any plan efficiently. And for us, including for the GP Resilience Matrix, which my colleague Ritesh presented on yesterday as one of the projects for this, to understand what was already in the yard, where gaps were, and what needed engineering or redesign. And then, only then, we built one underlying model first, something that could feed multiple products rather than making a new bespoke thing every single flipping time somebody asked a slightly different question. Why do we do that? It sounds simple, but that shift, one Woodyard, one bench, changed the feel of the work completely, honestly. So, changes afoot. The impact for us has been as much human, and I cannot stress that enough. It has been as much human as technical. In practical terms, we've seen fewer parallel builds that that quietly duplicate each other, a clearer sense of who does what in the journey from raw data to finished product, better conversations about priority, when to say yes, when to say not yet, and when to point to something that already exists. Let's start doing more of that. But the big shift has been in how it feels to work together, because we were explicit about roles, about the pathway, about who owned what. People could bring their perspective without feeling like they were stepping on anyone's toes. We balance speed with quality. Rather than sacrificing one for the other. We had space to surface risks early, which is very important, to be honest about uncertainty, and to push back when something didn't fit the model. And we came out of it not just with better products, but as a team that actually gels, which is so massively important, with a shared sense of craft rather than a string of isolated heroics. So, big picture. If you zoom out from our local story, the Woodyard is really our answer to a question that keeps coming up nationally, quite honestly. Reviews like Goldacre have made it very clear. The problem isn't that we don't use data. It's that we often use it in ad hoc, one-off, opaque ways that are hard to trust. That's that word again. Hard to reuse and hard to scale. A Woodyard mindset pushes against that. It forces us to see these things. First, let's build fewer one-off extracts and more reusable pathways. Let's be clear about where logic lives, who owns which part of the journey, and how others can stand on that work. Let's make the operating model of BI visible so it can be improved, challenged, and shared. We're not claiming to have solved it, but even in this early imperfect form, the Woodyard has started to reduce waste, improve our flow, and give us a way to talk about BI that's grounded in craft, not just in tools. Next. We're very honest that our Woodyard is still a work in progress, and that's intentional. Next for us is codifying the pathway a bit more, making it easier for someone to see, if you bring a log here, this is what will happen, and these are the roles involved. Using the Woodyard model more systemically to triage and consolidate asks, so that 5 similar requests become one well-designed product instead of 5 slightly different versions. Sharing what we're learning across teams, which is important, and we hope with other systems so that this becomes something people can adapt, not a precious internal idea. And we're trying hard to keep the people at the center of it. So for us at Kenton Medway ICB BI, the Woodyard is much about creating a psychologically safe, neurodiversity aware environment for analysts, and engaging is about reducing wasted effort. Because if people don't feel able to bring their full selves and their best thinking to the bench, the model will never really live. I'll finish where I started and leave you with this. Tools won't fix this for us. We will, when we stop sawing alone and work from the same bench. Mark gave us the saw. Thanks, Mark. Our job now is to choose whether we keep cutting in separate sheds or whether we actually build that shared bench and work differently together to keep evolving that for the next generation of our data and analytics profession. That, for me, is what the Woodyard is really about. So, thank you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for showing up if you have. And that's my email. Any questions, I'll field them now. But beyond this, please reach out, go on LinkedIn, connect up, utilize digital, send me an email. Let's have a conversation. And just to do a really guilty plug, HACA's been around for quite a while, doing a lot for us. And on LinkedIn, they only have 600 odd followers. Let's make a change to that and get that into the thousands and show them the support that they need. So get following. Thanks, everybody.
And thank you very much for that, Siobhan. Very interesting and passionate talk there, and thank you also for the plug for HACA. We're a little tight on time, but there is I do want to go to the Q&A just before we go to a break. There's a question in there from Louise. Do you think one of the biggest challenges is helping stakeholders understand the Woodyard?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. I think it is. I think because stakeholders have their own journey and their own needs, so we tend to sit on different pillars. And I think it's that communication piece and taking the time to actually have the conversation and understand them. That would be a massive help. And if we don't do that, then we're almost pushing against the tide.
Brilliant. Thanks, Louise, for that question, and thanks again, Siobhan. It's a great start to the day, and thank you all for being here and engaging with that. Now got a short, just over 15-minute break now before our next talk on NHS theatre tariffs for lower limb surgery, with speakers from the Royal Free Hospital NHS Foundation Trust. So we'll see you back here at 11:15. Thank you.